Bernie Sanders won't support House Democrats' plan to strengthen Obamacare. Fears that progressives will make support for single-payer health care system a mandatory litmus test for all the Democrats became more serious on Tuesday night as Bernie Sanders refused to support or say anything positive about a very high-profile House Democrat bill aimed at strengthening Obamacare. Per a Washington Examiner account of Sanders' interview with Chris Hayes, who's another one that pushed this Russia fairy tale, Senator Bernie Sanders, who is running for president and has greatly influenced Democratic policy positions, said Tuesday that he does not support a bill introduced by House leaders to expand Obamacare. No, I support the Medicare For All single-payer program, Sanders said when MSNBC's Chris Hayes asked him about the legislation that was introduced earlier that day. Asked a second time to clarify his stance and whether he supported incremental changes to the healthcare system, Sanders again replied that he did not support the bill. As Hayes noted, this was a new position for Sanders. This Sanders answer, whether he would support House Dems legislation to improve ACA, is pretty interesting. He says no, and he said he doesn't support any incremental reforms, which is quite a departure from his record. I don't know about that. He's voted for all kinds of incremental reforms, including ACA. It seems to represent a crossing of the Rubicon, in which the candidate treats incremental reform as an abomination. Right. Now we're working on what I have fought for my entire life, Sanders said. Healthcare is a right. It has to be comprehensive. The current system is dysfunctional. It is enormously wasteful. The trouble is, of course, that House Democrats from across the ideological spectrum, united behind the bill, Bernie is disrespecting. He's disrespecting the bill. It was designed to exploit the Trump administration's startling decision to threaten Obamacare yet again by supporting a judicial elimination of the entire Affordable Care Act and was intended to sidestep differences of opinion on broader health care reforms like Medicare For All. In Sanders' defense, the House bill is purely a messaging device that will very likely never see the light of day in the Republican-controlled Senate. But his refusal even to pay Nancy Pelosi the courtesy of positive lip service towards a bill that is central to House Democrats' 2020 strategy will likely be taken as a sign that he and his supporters intended to go to the mat for his vision of Medicare For All. Oh, where do I start? Where do I start? How much more should Bernie Sanders do for Queen Nancy and King Chuck and Emperor Perez? Okay? Bernie Sanders stood and did a bill with Chuck Schumer, who isn't progressive. He's a Republican. He let Chuck Schumer borrow Bernie's pen, on stock buybacks. They did a bill. Bernie Sanders did a unity tour with that stiff class of corruption, Tom Perez. He let Tom Perez, ride off of Bernie's movement. And boy, was that embarrassing for Tom Perez, when you're at a rally and Bernie, 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 they're chanting when Tom Perez is speaking. Bernie Sanders play homage to Nancy Pelosi. What else could he do? Bernie Sanders went around the country in 2017 fighting to save Obamacare. I know, because I covered it in Kentucky when I was at the Young Turks. He fought and went around the country trying to save a program that he fundamentally doesn't think is right for America. So Bernie Sanders has done enough for the Democratic Party. Democratic Party needs to start doing things for Bernie Sanders, but we know that's not going to happen because they're, as we speak, working on how to rig it again in 2020 without getting caught this time. So as I said, I think I covered it yesterday or the day before, as much as I think Obamacare is a Republican health care plan, as much as I think it was not the right change to the health care system, I do recognize that it would be a disaster for it to be repealed because there are millions of people that have been helped and many that have had their lives saved from Obamacare. So you could be for Medicare for All and you could not be for tinkering around the edges with Obamacare and still not want it completely repealed. I don't want it repealed if Medicare for All is not waiting in the wings. I don't think that's controversial. Especially the best part about Obamacare is really the Medicaid expansion because it helps the most vulnerable. And it might have helped many of you watching. So let's not be crazy extremists, just get rid of it. Politically, if Trump was successful in getting rid of it, I actually think it makes it even more likely that Medicare for All would take off. But I don't want to play with people's lives to better our political strategy. With that said, Bernie Sanders is right not to continues signing on to incremental changes. And what they mean by what incremental changes actually means, folks, just so you're clear, incremental change means what our donors will allow. That's all it means. They could dress it up in a reasonable word and a logical word and a word that, embodies responsibleness and practicality. All it means is what my sugar daddy and mama will allow. This is the way the United Corporations of America works. So the donors don't mind legalized pot. Well, the big pharma executives mind, but by and large, donors don't care. That's why Beto O'Rourke's pushing legalized pot, because that's what his donors will allow. But his donors don't want Medicare for All, so that's why he moonwalked away from Medicare for All within 6 months. Hillary Clinton's donors don't mind like little tax credits for the middle class, but they do mind Medicare for All. That's why Kamala Harris is pushing tax credits for the middle class, but moonwalked away from Medicare for All in 24 hours. The donors don't mind, increasing teachers' pay, because it doesn't take away from them. That's why Kamala Harris is pushing increasing teachers' pay. But the donors do mind universal job guarantees. The donors do mind a Green New Deal. So, enough. And please educate your Republican uncle or your neoliberal auntie. This is not incremental change. Because if you want to go with the theory of, America runs on incremental change, well, that's certainly been some incremental change when you look at that chart starting with the early 1980s going up, that incremental change of income inequality exploding. That's called incremental theft. And I wouldn't even call it incremental because it's been pretty rapid. It's theft. It's thievery. So the media could try to paint Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, he's going to sabotage Obamacare. And that's what they're going to do. This is the first story I saw about it, but they will start covering it more. How dare Bernie Sanders put people's lives at risk? First of all, he went around the country to save Obamacare. This is the same rationality that Bernie is the reason Hillary Clinton lost. He went around the country, went around the country doing speeches and rallies for this warmonger, corrupt Hillary Clinton. But he's responsible? He did more rallies for her than President Obama did. I know. I covered it. It was disgusting. I couldn't take it. I covered a rally he did for Hillary Clinton in, where was it? Right outside of Detroit. Dearborn, Michigan. So, the bottom line is the Democrats are trying to push changes to Obamacare because changes to Obamacare makes it seem like they're fighting for the working man and women of America, even though Obamacare is not helping the majority of people. Obamacare is I can't curse. Obamacare is a wet kiss to insurance companies. Obamacare is a wet kiss to hospitals. Obamacare leaves high deductibles, high copays, co-insurance, and in a lot of cases, it's a big amount, a high amount per month just to have it. In fairness, it's become worse because the Trump administration has done everything it can to sabotage it and make it not work. But even before that, it wasn't making healthcare affordable because you can't create universal healthcare while simultaneously, fluffing pillows for pharmaceutical companies and all the insurance companies. You can't do both. You got to pick one or the other. That's why Bernie Sanders is right. So I hope Bernie Sanders doesn't cave. I hope he says, I am not for Obamacare being repealed, but I am not for, as our focus being to improve Obamacare. We need Medicare for all. Make it clear, I will fight against repealing Obamacare, but I will not fight for as our main healthcare policy, improving Obamacare. You can't improve something that fundamentally is not meant to work for everyone, is not meant and cannot cover everyone. Don't back down, Bernie. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.